with my writers and reporters that are in the U.S. and my writers in England in a conference call 10 minutes before the show. And I said, look at this Breitbart article on Drudge with the secret document confirmed accurate out of the U.S. Border Patrol Secret Committee. Leaked CBP report, the highest level of the Border Patrol, showing entire world exploiting open U.S. border. Buried in the report is dozens of people caught in the last month sneaking in from Ebola-stricken countries. I literally look at Kit Daniels, Adon Salazar, and this is normal to have in a newsroom. So we have a newsroom here as well. And Kurt Nemo. And I said, I said, here's a bunch of the important news and angles here that no one's reporting on. Who wants to go with A, B, and C? And Kit Daniels said, I want to go with scores of illegals from Ebola countries caught crossing border. Drudge refreshes in front of me as we go live, and he changed the headline linking from Breitbart that said leaked. CBC report shows entire world exploiting open U.S. border. What did I see in this article? What did Kit Daniels see in the Border Patrol report that I have in full right here? The secret report that came out last week that Drudge got, that Breitbart got. I see the Ebola countries. Drudge sees the Ebola countries and gives the Breitbart headline what it should be. And will now make their article go mega viral, which it should. We need to expose the fact that the border's wide open while the police state's being used against us. But see, that's why I like the Drudge report. Because Drudge is probably twice as good as I am at understanding what's important. And I, after Drudge, I have to say, probably know more than most people. I mean, I can look at an article, see what's really important in it to me and my family, and then that's what I go with. My bias is justice. My bias is telling the truth. My bias is the borders are wide open, and they've got people from Ebola countries able to get in. And so many times I see an article, and buried in it is the big enchilada. Buried in it is the $64 million answer. Buried in it is the bombshell info. Now, I told Watson yesterday, big bombshell info that he raised on air, and I said, dude, that's the headline. And the story isn't up on Infowars.com yet, but it will be. So by the end of the show today, we're going to have some big breaking news. I would announce a lot of this now. It's not that I even want the scoop. It's that if I give this info out now, disinfo operatives, even from the White House on record, will come out with spin ahead of what we're about to put out, trying to stop us, trying to save this country and secure our borders and secure our republic. So we're going to launch major truth bombshells. We were going to launch that one. I said, look, give the Breitbart article credit, give the credit to the report, and then just rewrite it with our headline that we've got dozens and dozens and dozens of illegals crossing at the southern border from Ebola countries. Boom. 5 minutes later, it pops up. Well, what's the saying? Great minds think alike? I'm not saying I have some great mind, but boy, I tell you, compared to the average person, I guess I do. That's quite a scary thing to come to grips with when you realize when it comes to street savvy and news savvy and basic understanding that you know more than almost anybody. And, you know, in your field, it's a creepy feeling, and you want to teach others, and you want to see others excel past you and become greater than you are. It's like that line in Full Metal Jacket, which is based on real training in the 1960s in the Marine Corps, where it said, you know, in the final days of boot camp, our instructors were very happy to see that we were, you know, our youthful energy basically raging past them and even surpassing them. Because, of course, they're 35, 40 years old. They're not as young and vicious anymore. And so now the instructors are in awe of what they've created.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. And now you can protect yourself from corrupt cops with the InfoWars dash cam. It's your car's black box device that records all that the driver sees and hears. And introducing the Block It Pocket. It renders your phone undetectable while protecting your private data and your health. Or take back your privacy and protect your personal information by getting your very own Detractor cell phone pouch. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is unprecedented for any major Western government to openly take someone with something as deadly as Ebola into their country. Germany has now done it with Ebola patients, so has the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a psyop to create terror and to fearmonger and to bring in a greater medical tyranny, bottom line. But the issue is, even old bioweapons labs that were off the U.S. coast, like Plum Island, infected the United States with weaponized tick-borne syphilis that the public knows as Lyme's disease. It's in the syphilis family on record. And that's where it came from, that zoological bioweapons lab. So the point is, this stuff can and will get out. But now they're just bringing it directly to a hospital, and I looked the hospital up. It's got level 2 containment, where they have a special wing. Level 4 is what bioweapon hazards like Ebola are supposed to be in, underground, with minefields around it, machine gun nest. If it gets out inside the facility, they hit a button and the place burns down. Huge canisters of natural gas are released like torches, and everything is burned to the ground. Okay? It's supposed to be underground. Now, this is about a government and a political system that doesn't care about the people as well, that are flirting with disaster. You've all seen the headlines about a FedEx truck crashing, and it had weaponized flu on it that kills over 90% of people that come in contact with it 7 years ago. You see headlines where universities in the U.S. and Europe release the ingredients list on how to produce airborne mousepox for humans that kills 97 to 98% of people, even worse than Ebola that kills about 91%. So again, why are the elites suddenly just putting the designs for stuff like this out on the internet? They want plausible deniability down the road when the eugenicists, the globalists, carry out a 12 monkeys type scenario. And they're on record talking about that. Dr. Eric Pianka right here in UT in Austin talks about how they need airborne Ebola to kill 90% of the world's population to save the earth. So that's clearly what's happening. But regardless of why they're doing it, this is endangering the public. This is in precedent setting, and they never acted like this or did this before. So you've got to ask yourself, why is that happening? Let's look at these headlines. Ebola patient walks into Atlanta hospital, CNN. American physician with Ebola virus arrives in Atlanta for treatment. What's it really all about? Well, this story we put out last week went viral. You'd think mainstream media would want to point it out. Obama signed an executive order to disappear American citizens if you even have a cough, and to basically lock you up in a prison. So they're using this to set the precedent for medical tyranny. That's one of the reasons. Here's another one. Possible evacuation of Americans infected with Ebola triggers fears in U.S. Okay? And that's breaking down our report. They mentioned Infowars.com in this report posted on the Fox site. If Ebola hits U.S., even healthy Americans will be quarantined. Well persons who do not show symptoms would be forcibly detained. Again, ladies and gentlemen, our southern border is wide open right now, but we're being told that that's okay, and they're releasing sick people. But the American people themselves can be secretly locked up and disappeared. This is all about a power grab, all about a psyop with the Ebola to set up the medical tyranny state. We'll report on all this tomorrow on the Sunday transmission, 4 to 6 p.m. Central, Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. Follow us on Twitter at RealAlexJones. And finally, this is all about the insanity of a system that's getting more and more reckless. 90+% of the reactors are now leaking. No one even cares about that. It's an elite that's so decadent they could care less. So it's more than just fear-mongering. It's also part of their nihilistic disconnection with reality, thinking they're invincible. Pride goeth before a fall. Alex Jones signing off for Infowars.com. All right, I shot that Saturday afternoon. Then, of course, we had the syndicated Sunday broadcast yesterday where we broke down the latest developments. But I thought it was important to play that 4.5-minute breakdown before we got into the latest information. I wanted to give you some of the background on exactly what we are facing and dealing with. Now, the report is up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. It's up on DrudgeReport.com as the top big super link. It's Breitbart that obtained it. It has been confirmed to be from the highest levels of the U.S. Border Patrol, Customs and Border Enforcement, Office of Intelligence and Investigative Liaison, Trafficking and Smuggling Branch, finds a giant increase in illegals of all types, 17%, just as our former head of the Border Patrol union, now head of the retiree union, just as he said on the show Friday, showing he's got access to the current intelligence, 17% are the minors under 18. The rest are adults, and the minors are the flood to tie down the response. But Breitbart went with the angle of leaked CPB report shows entire world exploiting open U.S. border. No, ladies and gentlemen, that's important, but the big issue is the communicable diseases like drug-resistant TB, drug-resistant staph, drug-resistant strep, Ebola, and things like that are already ravaging U.S. hospitals and ravaging world hospitals. And again, it's already killed millions over the years in Latin America. And so they have basically survived it, the people that are going to survive it. Now we're being introduced to things that many of us are not going to survive. I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic, or Asian. Again, this year, December into this year, December through January, I lost 3 close family members. Pat Lynn Simmons, William Hammond, and Peter Hammond. And I called Pat Lynn my granduncle because he always lived across the street from my grandmother and was my grandmother's sister's firstborn son and like best friends with my dad. So I just called him Uncle Leonard, but he wasn't my uncle. But then my uncle, my mom's brother, and her son died this year of drug-resistant standard bacteria in their lungs. And my uncle was not a smoker and played football for LSU and was in Vietnam and in really good shape. And it killed him deader than a hammer. And so when Geraldo Rivera says these diseases don't matter and that it's race baiting, pure bull. Pure bull. They're now in the news saying, is the backlash against Ebola? I saw this last night. Anti-African. I guess we should all drink Ebola or we're against black people. There is no end to how political correctness can be used. Don't like Obamacare and death panels? You're racist. Oh, I love it. Don't want to turn your guns in? You're racist. Oh, I love it. It's mind control. So in 1 month, 874 people, if you look at these statistics, we've got an expanded article being done by Kit Daniels right now, came in from regions illegally were caught. This is who was caught. And they think they catch about 5%. Came in from regions, a.k.a. Africa, that have Ebola. 24 and then 18 caught coming in recently from countries that have it, like Nigeria. That's just one country, Nigeria. And it goes through it. It goes through the African countries like Ghana, 257. Before that, 290. That means thousands, ladies and gentlemen. This is all Office of Intelligence and Investigative Liaison. And this is restricted, by the way. But people inside the federal government are doing the right thing. When you're faced with open, naked, country-destroying treason, when freedom fails, the best men rot in filthy jails, and those that cried, appease, appease, are hung by those they tried to please. I forget who said that. I think we looked it up last time and no one knows. Though a lot of famous people have quoted that. That's from the Revolutionary War era, I know that. When freedom fails, the best men rot in filthy jails. And those that cried, appease, appease, are hung by those they tried to please. And no one really knows historically why the traitors get killed by the elite even more than the people that fight the enemy. But we do know the corrupt elite respect the good men and women that fight them. But under mafia rules throughout history, when you're already part of the club and you're a traitor that helped bring down good people, do you think the group that comes in and takes over wants a bunch of traitors around? First thing I'd do if I was the New World Order would be get rid of the people that were traitors and sold good people out. You don't want them around anymore. What happened to Hitler's SA, headed up by Ernst Röhm, the goblin-like creature? They killed, some estimates are, as many as 50,000 of them in one night, and another 50,000 or more over the next week. And Rome was under such mind control, and probably Hitler's boyfriend was the main reason he was killed. That's come out, that Rome was having sex with about half the upper echelon of the Nazi men. That as they took him in the jail cell and the SS came in to shoot him, he screamed, Heil Hitler, and as he rolled around on the ground bleeding to death, oh, I love you, my sweetie cake. Roughly translated from German. You think I'm joking? Look it up. Oh, I love you, my sweet pastry, I think it was translated. We would call it cupcake. I love you, my cupcake. Well, there you go. Heil Hitler, I love you, my cupcake. After he was shot 3 times in the chest. Look it up.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
But now we have atomic weapons. Now we have nuclear weapons. It's not the way we've always done before. Now we have liquid airborne Ebola. We're going to be breaking that down. Here's a story from healthmap.org from 2 years ago. From pigs to monkeys, Ebola goes airborne. There's a lot of evidence that we now are having airborne transmission between humans, though the pathogen does not live very long. Though the Ebola virus has trouble living out in the open atmosphere very long, especially if the temperatures aren't hot. Ebola virus. We're going to be looking at it today. Upwards of 1,000 people dead now. And then our border is wide open to the south. But if Boy Scouts are out in the woods taking photos of a bridge and a gorge, who wouldn't? Customs comes over and points guns at them and makes them get on the ground. Or if I want to fly, they want to grab my genitals or put me in a naked body scanner. But then illegals are allowed to go on without their identification. And nothing against the illegals. They're pawns. Doesn't matter, though. If you dropped a truckload of metal pawns an inch tall off the Empire State Building on the crowd below, it'd kill everybody. The pawn itself's not bad until you put it in a blunderbuss with black powder and pull the trigger. And then the pawn goes flying out as a weapon, as a projectile. Those old blunderbuss, you could put rocks in them. Never ran out of ammo with those as long as you had powder. You just put powder down in there, get your fuse down in there, or get your charge in there. Roll up some rocks in a piece of sack, cram it down in there, and you've got yourself a system to fire grape, as the sailors would call it. An anti-personnel weapon. Well, you take tens of millions of poor people with diseases who are handicapped or who are criminals or who are fleeing justice or who got babies they're ready to have to a country already teetering on the edge of collapse. It's a weapon. Just like a swimming pool is a really nice place. Unless you tie bowling balls to your legs and chain them on and jump into the deep end, you're going to die. Even if you're 1 foot from the surface or an inch from the surface, but you can't get up. You can't lift those bowling balls up. You can't get that big lead weight off. You're going to drown. The water's nice. You need to live. It's a nice thing. Until you're submerged in it. Submerged in a sea of third world despair and pain and horror. The people that live high on the hill in Latin America, they don't want to leave where they're at. They run the show. Or they got a business, or they're so wealthy, they got a house in Austin. You know how many rich Mexicans got houses in Austin? They go back and forth. They own Mexico. But not the people coming up here from Latin America, ladies and gentlemen. And they are political putting in the hands of the establishment. So why are they engaged in the unprecedented action of bringing not one, not two? I knew it was coming. I said it on the Sunday show yesterday. This sets the precedent. Will Obama bring hundreds of Ebola patients to the U.S. now that there's thousands and thousands of people infected, as many as 30+ thousand? The World Health Organization said last week they believe that may have been exposed and infected. The confirmed toll is 826, but that number's a week old, ladies and gentlemen. And did they stick this doctor, this medical doctor, and the other one that's flying in tomorrow in Atlanta, did they stick them in a level 4 bioweapons lab? Or maybe they could contain it? They've already failed containing it in other countries? No, they stuck them in the Atlanta Medical Center. Don't worry, the patient gets part of a wing. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any idea what they have to do in England now? They have robots that look like Daleks. Just type into a search engine, UK hospitals use robots in fight against drug-resistant bacteria. It was in the BBC, you name it, last week. And they've got these fumigators that go in. Humans can't even be in the rooms with the drug-resistant TB, the rest of it. I actually sent you guys a BBC report I wanted to play a clip of about that. And they go in and they fumigate with basically poison gas everything to kill everything in the crannies. And they have to seal the vents because the stuff's living in the vents. Then they have to close off part of the hospital and do that.
Hi, I'm Dr. Edward Group. Today I'd like to talk about the war on women. You've experienced and heard about the benefits of super male vitality. Now, the new formula has arrived. Introducing the new Super Female Vitality. I have specifically designed this formula to help the body naturally regulate itself without the use of artificial hormones. Key ingredients chosen from the highest quality sources. Each of these ingredients works synergistically with the female body in order to maximize overall vitality. You've heard the reviews and the feedback on how the original Super Male Vitality has revitalized relationships. Now, both the man and the woman can have the revitalization in their own bodies with Super Male Vitality and Super Female Vitality. Secure your Super Female Vitality today from our limited stock at InfoWarsLife.com.